Hello, and welcome back to Contemporary American Society, Causes and Consequences of Persecution in the United States. Today, we're going to briefly discuss the consequences of persecution, and that is the result of persecution, particularly religious persecution. And then we'll review for the final exam. Persecution of almost any kind is harmful. And religious persecution can become harmful for 5 reasons. It's irrational, it causes conflict, it creates cruelty and control, it causes a cycle of subjugation of one group for the social, economic, and political benefit of another group with more power. That is, one group takes control over another group and forces them to do what they're told. It links stereotypes, prejudice, discrimination, and oppression. That is, it causes one social group to be treated as being less important, while another group has social advantages. Persecution causes the persecuted person or the group to harm the persecutor, and it causes revolution by the persecuted group or person. It leads to racism, as well as to fear and hatred of strangers, or anything that is strange or foreign. Religious persecution causes conflict. Either the person who is doing the persecuting will become violent, or the person being persecuted will rebel against the persecutor. Rebellion refers to rejecting the goals of society and replacing them with unacceptable goals. When members of a religion are mistreated, it usually affects other parts of their lives. They may find it difficult to open or run a business. Or they may find that they don't have complete freedom to speak what they believe. They may find their churches burned down or with hateful symbols or writing on them. Oppression causes a lower quality of life for the person who's being oppressed, which can cause social consequences as the oppressed people leave the area. It can have bad economic consequences because the people who leave the area are part of the business community. They pay taxes, they work, and they buy things. Persecution causes fear and suffering, and it can cause revolution and attacks of the persecutor by the people who are persecuted. Persecution causes people of the same religion to live in groups apart from people from other religions, which causes racism, as well as fear and hatred of strangers or anything that is strange or foreign. And persecution is a cycle. It repeats over and over and over again. Now let's do our review for the final exam. The final exam is going to take into account 4 lectures: political persecution, social persecution, persecution based on wealth, power, and prestige, and consequences of persecution. It has the same format as the midterm. That is 25 multiple choice questions. And as always, this sheet is your best friend. This is the the final review sheet. And if you know what's on this sheet, you will do extremely well on the final. So let's start going over it. Okay, let's start with political persecution, which happens when the government controls citizens and takes away their civil liberties. Civil liberties are individual rights protected by law from unjust government interference. At times in the US, it hasn't been safe to disagree with certain generally accepted ideas. For example, during the Red Scare, which refers to two time periods from 1917 to 1920 and from 1947 to 1957, in which Americans were afraid that communists were trying to destroy the US and the power of the US government. The Red Scare happened when Americans were feeling very patriotic. Patriotism refers to support of a person's country. Senator Joe McCarthy was the leader of what was known as McCarthyism. McCarthyism referred to a campaign against communists in the US government that was carried out between 1950 and 1954. Anti-communist groups like the House Un-American Activities Committee became important. The House Un-American Activities Committee of the US House of Representatives was created in 1938 to investigate disloyalty and subversive activities. Subversive referring to disruptive activities. Persecution is based on political opinion, which was carried out by the US Federal Bureau of Investigation, known as the FBI. COINTELPRO was a series of illegal projects carried out by the FBI to destroy American political organizations. Social persecution is the act or practice of persecuting those who differ in social outlook. There are three social classes in the United States. The upper class consists of people who are wealthy and powerful. The lower class, which is also known as the working class, consists of people with low-paying jobs and very little economic security. And the middle class is the group of people that falls in between the upper class and the lower class. Some real-life examples of persecution in society are, first of all, Black Lives Matter, a movement that represents a social revolution to fight against the persecution of Black people. And the Me Too movement, which refers to how common gender persecution is in the workplace. Sociologists use the term social stratification to describe how society places people in a socioeconomic class based on their wealth, race, education, and power. The US stratification system is based on socioeconomic status. Socioeconomic status is based on a person's income, education, and occupation. And a person's social class is based on that person's wealth, income, education, and occupation. The US uses a class system, which is a stratification system in which a person's social status is based on achievement. Class systems allow social mobility. Social mobility refers to a movement up or down the social ladder. That is a ranking of positions with the group with the highest power at the top, and it's usually seen as a triangle. Let's talk about persecution based on wealth, power, and prestige. Power refers to a person's ability to control others. Prestige refers to the reputation associated with a person's position in society. And occupational prestige refers to a higher social standing based on holding a position that requires an advanced degree. Wealth refers to the value of all that a person owns, and that's in contrast with income. Income is earned and it refers to money received by a person or a household over a period of time. Income inequality refers to the uneven distribution of wealth between the nation's rich and poor. And now the consequences of persecution. Oppression refers to a form of unfairness that happens when one social group is treated as unimportant while another social group has social advantages. Persecution causes people of the same religion to live in groups away from other religious groups, which causes racism and a fear of anything strange or foreign. And persecution is a cycle. We see the cycle of persecution when a person or a group persecutes the person or group that has persecuted them. And this repeats over and over and over again. So let's go over the vocabulary review sheet, starting with civil liberties, which are individual rights protected by law from unjust governmental interference. And patriotism, which refers to support of a person's country. COINTELPRO, which were a series of illegal projects carried out by the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the FBI, to destroy American political organizations. The House Un-American Activities Committee was a committee of the U.S. House of Representatives created in 1938 to investigate disloyalty and subversive activities, that is, disruptive activities. McCarthyism was a campaign against communists in the US government and other institutions that was carried out between 1950 and 1954. And the Red Scare refers to two time periods, 1917 to 1920 and 1947 to 1957, in which many Americans were afraid that communists were trying to destroy US society and the power of the US government. Social persecution refers to the act or practice of persecuting those who disagree or who differ in social outlook. Black Lives Matter was a movement that represents a social revolution to fight against the persecution of Black people. The lower class, also known as the working class, consists of people with low-paying jobs and very little economic security. The upper class consists of people who are wealthy and powerful. And the middle class is the group of people that fall in between the upper class and the lower class. Social stratification refers to how society places people in a socioeconomic class based on their wealth, their race, their education, and their power. The class system is a stratification system in which a person's social status is based on achievement. Social mobility is a movement up or down the social hierarchy, the social ladder. Socioeconomic status is based on a person's income, education, and occupation. The Me Too movement refers to how common gender persecution is in the workplace. Social class is what is based on a person's wealth, income, education, and occupation. And income is money received by a person or a household over a period of time. Persecution causes racism and fear of anything that's strange or foreign. Prestige is the reputation associated with a person's position in society. Occupational prestige is a higher social standing based on holding a position that requires an advanced educational degree. Power refers to a person's ability to control others. Income inequality refers to the uneven distribution of wealth between the nation's rich and the nation's poor. Oppression is a form of unfairness that happens when one social group is treated as unimportant and another social group has social advantages. And the cycle of persecution is when a person or a group persecutes the person or group that persecuted them, and this repeats over and over and over again. Okay, I can't stress enough the importance of knowing what is on this review sheet. If you know it, you will do extremely well on the final exam. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact me via the portal, and best of luck. I look forward to seeing you again soon.